Shout out to RFK Jr. And before we get into this video, I just want to say shout out to the King Squad, family, the King Squad. At least you guys are the bomb.k. I thought of RFK. Anyways, you guys are the bomb.com, and I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. You guys are awesome. And don't let anybody tell you any different, okay? You woke up this morning, all that great stuff. And let's get right into this video. Let's go through these comments really quickly. This is my favorite so far, RFK Jr. I did not leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. Hold on, let me zoom in. Can I zoom in right here? Oh, there we go. Perfect. You can see it. All right. There we go. Yeah, that comment is gold. And there we go. Somebody else says, I'm not an RFK Jr. fan, but I definitely support his policies. And that's the difference between Republicans and Democrats, is that Republicans can compromise and come together on policy and doing what's best for America. And to see former Democrats leaving their party and coming out in support of Trump really speaks volumes. I find that very interesting myself. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. We're going to get right into this video, and I will be giving my commentary periodically throughout the video, more so on the back end. Stay tuned for that, and let's go.
He's getting dressed right now. We want us to buy a little bit of money. Oh, he is dressed. All right. He also is an independent candidate. As you know, he's going to play a key role with the Trump administration. Should there be a Trump 2 on Tuesday, and should we get a verdict actually on election night? That'll be great. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr., ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. So, I know you've lived a lot of your life in Washington, D.C. What did you make of the fact that the Washington Post announced inexplicably on Friday, we're not going to endorse a candidate? And then Jeff Bezos has come out and he said, you know what? We want people to decide on their own.
Oh, the Washington Post, when I was little, did not endorse candidates, and it only started doing that recently. The problem I have with the Washington Post is the bias in the newsroom.
Front page.
Right, because traditionally you would have an unbiased reporting by the New York Times and the Washington Post, and then the editorial board would meet and vote, and they'd endorse a candidate, and there was supposed to be a Chinese wall between them. But in recent years, they have become blatantly partisan, and I think that's a tragedy for the news, because there's really, there is very, very few sources of nonpartisan news left, except, of course, right here.
All right, there you go.
Good answer.
How do you feel, though, about the media at large, though, painting the Trump supporters that you were at that event in New York, at Madison Square Garden? They're painting them all as Nazi supporters, as racist. And this used to be your party, used to be the part of inclusion, of open debate, but that's changed. Why?
Yeah, at the beginning of this campaign, I made a statement about Anne Frank during a speech, and I wasn't referring to saying anything reminded me of Nazism. I was talking about the rise of totalitarian systems of AI and facial recognition that give totalitarian systems the capacity to control so much of our behavior and to surveil us. And for about 5 months after that, I was called an anti-Semite for invoking the Nazi era. And here you have the leading Democrats in the last couple of weeks, and the press. MSNBC has been really appalling.
Insane.
Mm-hmm. And the vice president. And there's no link between, I don't even think Madison Square Garden existed in 1939.
Right, it came 1968. It moved to Penn State.
Right, so they're invoking this 1939 meeting of Nazis, and they're saying that somehow this is a reunion. And you go in that, there was a joke made during the speech by one comedian, and the crowd. I was in the crowd at that time, and they groaned. These were not,
no one was laughing.
Nobody was laughing, and there was so much joy in the room, and optimism, and patriotism, and idealism about our country, and it was the opposite of Nazism, and the need to use that most evocative and explosive and incendiary and poisonous reference, and it's being used across the top ranks of the Democratic Party. It's Hillary Clinton, it's Kamala. I think it's bad for our country. And by the way, so many of us, when we were kids in this country, were asked to consider the moral quandary. would you, if you could go back in time, would you kill baby Hitler before he could do all the damage? And most of us answer, yeah, we would do that. So when you compare an American political figure to Hitler, who was about to become president, the kind of people who are, who are already a little unstable, you're really suggesting to them that this man should be killed before he gets into office.
President Trump brought that up yesterday. He goes, "You guys going to get me shot again?" And he goes, "When I was younger, my dad told me never bring up that word, Nazi, in my house. And now I'm being called it." And he said, "You're going to get me shot again."
Right.
By the way, they did a study. They said how many people have a great...
Wow, I think that's really huge because I really think that the liberal media, the whole raging liberal stuff, them sitting here having these like rage sessions against Trump and being anti-common sense, I really do believe that really incited a lot of the violence and the assassination attempts that occurred on President Trump's life. All the hate speeches and then you have these little mustache man comparisons and all this kind of stuff. And it's just there's so much hate being spewed out in his direction that I hate to say this, but it was only a matter of time till somebody really lost their mind and then takes it out and tries to actually take out, former President Trump, potential future president. Okay, it's just what it is. Yeah, I really think it's ridiculous because the lies that the liberal media spews, it really incites more rage and it incites violence. All right, it's dangerous, and it's something that should not be taken lightly, in my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments.
Great deal, if not a fair amount of trust in the media. Only 31% said yes, they trust the media. That was at 40% in 2012, and it used to be over 70%.
When my uncle was president, it was 85%.
85.
When you had Walter Cronkite and people like that, and the media was really focused on telling the truth to the American public.
When your uncle was president, 6% of Americans had chronic disease. Now it's 60. Add a zero to that.
Yeah.
You've talked a lot about this. You walked in here and you gave everyone in the audience these Make America Healthy Again hats. As a mom, as Americans, we appreciate what you're doing because we're getting older and we're thinking about we want to live a long life. We want to see our grandchildren. I want to see my grandchildren walk down the aisle. You go to Europe and you might eat pizza in Italy and you don't feel bad and you don't gain weight. We want to know why that happens here in America and what you're going to do. But first, let's play the soundbite. This is Donald Trump at the rally at MSG.
Look, we're not going to let him go too crazy, Elon, with the oil and gas stuff. And, because Robert F. Kennedy cares more about human beings and health and the environment than anybody. And he's going to be absolutely, having him is such a great honor. I've been friends of his for a long time. And I'm going to let him go wild on health. I'm going to let him go wild on the food. I'm going to let him go wild on medicines. The only thing I don't think I'm going to let him even get near is the liquid gold that we have under our feet.
What was your reaction to that?
Well, he always says that, and I get it. But what he's right is, we have the sickest children in the world right now. There's nobody in the world that has that. When I was a kid, the autism rate among American children and in 70-year-old men today, in my generation, is 1 in 10,000. In my children's generation, it's 1 in every 34 kids, 1 in every 22 boys. In the diabetes, a typical physician, when I was a kid, would see 1 case of juvenile diabetes in his lifetime, or a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids who walk through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic. And it's costing us $4.3 trillion a year. It costs we paid zero for chronic disease when my uncle was president. Today, it's the biggest expense, 5 times our military budget. It's easy to fix. We have 1,000 ingredients in our foods that are illegal in Italy and other countries in Europe. And the reason for that is corruption. At the food industry and the agriculture, big agricultural producers control FDA. And so they're not worried about public health. They're worried about advancing the mercantile interests of those corporations, and they've let them do things. the companies, the big cereal companies, make two kinds of cereals. Like Fruit Loops in our country is just loaded with chemicals and food dyes that are carcinogenic, that they're going to cause ADHD in your kids. If you go across the border to Canada or to Europe, you have the same product, but it has no dyes in it.
Right.
It has good ingredients. So these companies know how to do it.
Right.
If they can get away with it here.
Do you know how you'd approach fixing it? I wouldn't talk that. I want you to answer that. But first, I want you to go to the studio audience. James, you're over there. You have a question for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for just taking our questions and being here. But we all know that access to healthy foods is not always easy or affordable for many. What are some ways that you hope to change this?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I would say that you cannot afford to eat bad foods because it's going to affect your health and you're going to pay later on. And, you know, with food, we can solve the diabetes crisis. Most people who have diabetes or pre-diabetic can be cured with good food. And if they choose instead to be cured by Ozempic, the government then pays $1,500 a month for the rest of their lives. And with a fraction of that, we could give everybody organic foods 3 meals a day in this country. What I would do is, you know, the first thing I do isn't going to cost you anything because I'm just going to tell the cereal companies to take all the dyes out of their food.
It seems pretty
give
simple.
us the same cereal. By the way, President Trump was cooking him at McDonald's the other day and giving people French fries. And people criticized me, and they said, well, you know, he's out there giving fast food. And I said, I don't have anything against fast food. I'm against food that has seed oils. When I was a kid, McDonald's was made with tallow fat. That was good for you. And your body needs that. It makes you healthy. It's great. Why aren't we making it with tallow fat again? In England, McDonald's has a McDonald's French fry has 3 ingredients in it, like potato, sugar, and some, you know, oil or tallow. Yeah, salt. Sorry, potatoes, salt, and some tallow fat. In our country, it has 17 ingredients.
Wow.
Oh, and none of them are good for you.
Okay, well, obviously something's got to give. Lynn, right in the front row, RFK, has got a question for you. Lynn?
Hi. I grew up a Bostonian where the Kennedy name is sacrosanct. How did you get the courage to stand up against the liberal media and your famous family?
Well, I was led one thing to another. I saw what the truth that was happening to our kids. And I had to make a choice between whether I was going to whether I was going to try to help people get healthy again. And then there were other reasons that I left the Democratic Party. The party that I grew up with was the party of peace. It was the party of constitutional rights and civil rights. It was the party of that stood up to Wall Street and the big corporations. Today's Democratic Party is the party of war. It's the party of censorship. It's the party of surveillance. It's the party of big tech, big ag, big banking, the military-industrial complex, and big ag, and big food, and big pharma. And so I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left
But you
me.
tried to run as a Democrat, and they locked you out. They wouldn't put you on the ballot.
That's huge. That's huge. He said he didn't leave the Democratic Party left him. And they went woke. And that's not good for anybody.
We have one more question. Where's Janelle? Is Janelle on this side of the room? Hey, Janelle, what is your question?
About 100,000 schools participate in the USDA's national lunch program during the year. If you're given a position by the Trump administration in the agricultural department, what will you do to improve school lunches?
I'll get processed food out of school lunch immediately. About half the school lunch program goes to processed food. About 70% of food stamps go to processed food. 10% of food stamps go to sugar drinks, to sodas. We're creating diabetes problem in our kids by giving them food that's poison, and I'm going to stop that.
Robert, we got to let you go. But quick question. You were talking about the difference from the McDonald's here versus another country, or the Fruit Loops here versus another country. What's the reason why?
Yeah,
like, if they know how to make it already, why aren't we doing it?
It's because it's cheaper for them to put the chemicals.
It's a cost.
Yeah, and President Trump wants to get the chemicals out. And he wants to make us healthy because in the long run, that's cheaper for our country.
Right.
It's America. America is the best at everything. We need to be the best at food, too.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, RFK Jr.
I'm Steve Ducey.
Wow. Absolutely fire clip. Absolutely awesome clip. Shout out to RFK Jr. And yeah, when I listen to the way he talks, it was only a matter of time till he left the Democratic Party, because the stuff that they talk about, like I'm listening to him talk about, he wants to take dyes out of cereals and make kids healthy again and make America healthy again, and giving away Make America Healthy Again shirts. And meanwhile, they're trying to diagnose kids with every type of mental health issue and vaccines and diseases and pretty much just strike down generations. Like if they can't delete them in the womb, they got to delete them in real life. This stuff is just completely nuts. Like Kamala Harris's entire campaign is literally just campaigning and literally inviting you to just delete the whole family. Like that's literally the whole campaign, and it's just horrendous. All right, and you expect to make a bill have a new way forward? How are we gonna have a new way forward if there's nobody left to follow it? You deleted everybody. I mean, like what? Where is the brain at? Where is their brain at? Okay, anyways, that's a whole another topic. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Shout out to Candy Rubin. It takes courage like RFK Jr. to go against the family opposition. Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And yeah, somebody said, shout out to Lisa P. Can't wait to see what RFK does to improve health and reduce corruption in the food and health industries. We desperately need his expertise. I'm interested in seeing that as well. Really interested in seeing that as well. And it's we shout out to the MAGA Avengers. Okay. It's deep. It's important that we continue to remain proactive and actually go out and vote and actually continue to push forward to push forward to get the change that we want to see, because, with the way that the left is talking, it's not looking good. And this whole America that we have today is not sustainable for the next 4 years. So that's my thoughts on it, you guys. You guys let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. As always, I appreciate hearing what every single one of you guys have to say. And shout out to the King Squad, the King Squad family, the King Squad elites. You guys are the bomb.com. You guys are awesome. And don't let anybody, and I mean anybody, tell you any different. All right. And be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Share these videos so we can help more people navigate through the mainstream media's jungle of lies, and so that more people can be exposed to the truth. So that's that, you guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Trump 2024. Peace.